right. Okay, Frank, this is Jonathan. As a disclaimer, I'm already long COSM. I do not know when I will be adding or, selling, at all. So I just wanted to go ahead and throw that disclaimer out there. But Frank, can you tell us a little bit about COSM and, how things are maybe like progressing with Zip Doctor? I don't know exactly what you're able to disclose, what you're not able to disclose. I saw that we extended the LOI, but is there anything else, in regards to Zip Doctor that comes to mind?
Yes, well, Zip Doctor, I brought that acquisition to the table because I used to work for Jacob at AMYH many years ago. Not many years ago, 2 years ago. Zip Doctor was a great platform then. Jacob just really had a hard time funding it to keep it going. It was successful, and with the right marketing dollars and the right support system behind it, it could be a pretty big winning division for us. The revenue estimates are pretty solid. From what I've seen so far, the estimates are high. I'm sure that'll be disclosed if and when the transaction closes. Over the last 3 weeks, we've been going back and forth with Zip Doctor, and at this point, I feel that Cosmos has negotiated a very, very favorable deal. The money they save on the actual acquisition will go into developing, marketing, branding, that type of thing.
Awesome.
And, we expected it to close on the 15th, but Jacob, the CEO, he's actually doing an IPO of his own company, Mango RX, and that sidetracked him a little bit, so we needed a few extra days to try and button it up. Once again, it's not a guarantee that it's going to close, but I wouldn't assume that they would take extensions only a few days out because they don't intend to close it.
Okay, awesome. And then I know that you told me like 3 weeks on Twitter as far as the uplisting goes, or not the uplisting, the dual listing, excuse me. And that's from 2/2, and that's the minimum. The minimum time is 3 weeks, right?
Three weeks would be light speed. There's a lot of documentation that needs to be done because don't forget, this is a full exchange. It's not just a website. It's a stock exchange. So to have a listing go up, it's got to go through a lot of approvals and due diligence and things like that. Mark is a dear friend of mine from Upstream, so he's fast tracking it as much as possible. We're excited to get it up because we have multiple ideas on things to offer our shareholders to, I don't want to say exploit, but to benefit from the dual listing. We are a retail company. We have retail products such as nutraceuticals, vitamins, hair growth, things like that. Well, we can offer a coupon to our shareholders. We can give that coupon any value we want. We can do $10, $50, $100, whatever we think is the most prudent use of the funds. And those people will obviously be able to exchange that for products and services. On the other side of it, this situation with Robinhood is very unique.
You're touching on all the things I want to talk about. This is perfect.
I try to be expedient. There's 2 times that I can remember, and I've been out here a long time, 27 years. GTII is one of them that they actually identified what I'll call the quote-unquote perpetrator, where they announced that Alpine had a concentrated short position at GTI. That's basically, you're putting the turkey on the platter and serving it. Gary Ham actually keeps calling it the golden ticket. It truly is, because when you don't have to find the suspect, you could just go for discovery. That cuts out an entire wave of legal work. And the fact that Robinhood, they tried to bury it in the filing, that they lost $57 million on a mistake. They can call it a mistake, but in this life, you're still liable for your mistake. You go to the doctor and you want a lung transplant, and he takes out your liver instead. He may not have intended to do it, but he's still liable for his mistake. So there's going to be damages at some point that Robinhood caused the company, the shareholders, and they're going to have to answer for that. So when we go in and go for discovery and look for the blue sheets, they're going to have to produce those. So now we have an actual target as to exactly what to hone in on, and that should provide us with a pretty good basis. We've also thrown around the idea of if there is a settlement or a gain to offer part of that settlement as a special dividend to shareholders. So we're all over this trying to figure out what the best way to inflict max damage these guys are, because that's the only way they're going to learn is when you hurt them in the pocketbook.
Yeah. I mean, you literally just hit on a couple of my points, because one of my subscribers actually was showing like almost $4 million and it wouldn't let her sell. So
well,
I mean,
that's all relative, because they were showing $4 million because Robinhood didn't affect the split.
Yeah, it was like a CUSIP change.
Yeah, I mean, after that was on the original share amount. Now, $4 million would still be $1 million, depending after the split. So don't get me wrong, it's a substantial amount of money. But if you had 200,000 shares pre-split, that goes down to 4,000 post. So even at the highs, you're talking about $100,000 as opposed to millions. But I get it. That's a lot of cake.
Yeah, I mean, to not have a sell button, it's a little bit rough. I kind of feel for her. But how big do you think that this? Go ahead.
That's it. Once we lead the way, and if and when we decide to pursue legal action, I would think that the shareholders that experienced any type of damages, class actions are pretty effective. I wouldn't discourage that in any way.
Okay, so basically, if somebody was harmed, you suggest thinking about a suit, right?
Well, you need 3 people to form a class action. I'm sure that there's more than 3 people at Robinhood that that didn't get the trade. So it's always an option. But we have to see, with this battle, there's no quick fix. There's no one thing that's going to do it. They've been so entrenched for so many years doing things their way and repetitiously usurping all of Wall Street's money. And when I say Wall Street, I mean retail. The retail investor has always been looked at as the lowest form of investor in the liquidity pool, and Wall Street has used and abused them for years. And that's got to stop. And there are a bunch of us now. There were a handful at first, but now there's an army of people that are determined to affect change. And when you have that many people uniting their voices together, things are going to happen. I happen to know for a fact that these cries are reaching the highest levels of government, that the SEC voted yesterday to drop the trade settlement day from 2 days to 1 day. And all these things are pieces of the puzzle to stop this practice. But it's a monumental task. But we have the opportunity to make a difference that will benefit not only us, but generations to come.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting excited sitting here listening to you. Have you guys talked to any other CEOs that maybe we aren't aware have joined the Naked Short War?
Listen, I'm not Roger Hamilton or Jeremy. I'm not out there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were able to talk about it.
I represent 4 companies right now, and 3 of the 4 CEOs have joined CEO Block and have become part of the movement.
Love it.
Greg over at Cosmos, he's been in touch with Roger, but Greg is a different kind of CEO. He's not a showman. He's not he's not the kind of guy that wants all that type of media attention. But Greg also has the deepest pocketbook of any of the other companies. So, there are different ways to approach it. Some yield more immediate results. I'm not going to, I've pushed him to do certain things, and his response to me was, Frank, we're a big company. We need to act like a big company. I have to respect that. The guy's a wealthy guy. He's running a nice company, and I work for him, not the other way around.
Yeah, no, I get it. So, how big do you think Upstream is? What do you think that the the capabilities of being able to list however many coupons you want, what kind of impact do you think that's going to have on the market?
Well, I'm going to preface this by saying it's theoretical, because
of course
nothing's guaranteed out here. There things that worked like a charm a year ago are irrelevant today.
Absolutely.
Upstream is the right concept. The whole point of Upstream is to offer something that's not duplicated. There's no CUSIP number. It can't be spoofed or shorted or traded unless you're the rightful owner. By rightful owner, when you go to get your coupon from Upstream, we're going to go through basically an identification process. You're going to have to prove who you are and that you own the shares that you say you do, because Upstream is going to be tied into the DTC and NSCC. They have the records, the actual records, not the ghost that owns X number of shares. You have to show that you're the rightful owner of the shares, then you will get your digital coupon. There is no way for the market makers, traders, shorts, whoever you want to say, they can't duplicate it because it's on the blockchain. And each specific coupon is its own entity. It doesn't go to DTC. When we go to NSCC, it's strictly on the blockchain exchange. So by getting your coupon of $10, $20, $30, whatever it is, that increases the liability for the short.
Exactly.
Now, will it eliminate shorting? No. Shorting, legal shorting, is actually very healthy for a stock, because the more short position you have, if the company performs, that catapults the stock higher. It's the problem of 10 million shares out, 15 million in circulation. That's very difficult, and I encourage people to read the Dole Foods lawsuit where there were too many shares at the end of the day. If you're not familiar with Dole, Dole took the company private. They offered the shareholders a certain amount of money at the end of the deal, and what they found was they had more people claiming shares than were actually in circulation. It's a very good case to read. It's very educational, and I would suggest doing it. Avid actually did some great videos on it. You have to find them on YouTube now because, surprisingly, Twitter decided to suspend his account. Now, that to me is just, excuse my French, it's bullshit. Because Avid is a straight shooter. He doesn't slander anybody. He's not a pumper. He's just a straight-up informational provider on Twitter. And the fact that they shut his account down, I have to call bullshit on it, because something's not right.
Yeah, I actually retweeted that. I mean, the way that I see it is there shouldn't be anything wrong for just providing data. You know what I mean? But touching back to what you just said regarding coupons, right? Are there any thoughts in regards to giving coupons that are able to be resold by shareholders like Jupiter Wellness did? They just did a coupon for like $179, right? And that obviously is going to add, that I believe it would be what extrinsic value. That's going to add extrinsic value to each shareholder.
Now, Jupiter, believe it or not, the CEO of Jupiter is my ex-partner, Brian John.
Really?
So
Okay.
I'm very familiar. Yeah, they live in Jupiter, Florida. I'm down south in Palm Beach, so I know Brian been a part of 30 years at this point. But the reselling of the coupons, I just don't know that that's something that we would want to get involved with, because why offer something that the short sellers could buy to cover their liability? Now, I don't know if they're selling it for more or less. I'm not that familiar with the resale process. But I would think that reselling the golden ticket would be counterproductive. But I'm not familiar enough with the resale and how it affects the actual shares to effectively comment on it.
Okay. I was just thinking about adding like a form of liquidity to the situation. You know what I mean? Because
there's that as well. But the coupon can't come off the exchange. So the only way you could trade that coupon would be on Upstream.
That's what I was seeing on there. I was just thinking about like a different way to give like a reason for shareholders to hold it. You know what I mean? It might cause like extreme volatility, though. You know what I mean? Just because of the added liquidity.
Well, what may happen is I'm sure that there will be a way that a short seller could open an account on Upstream and trade the stock, or the coupon, I should say. But that also, they have to buy the coupon. So if they have to buy the coupon, if it's $5, $10, whatever it is, you're taking a 60 or 70 cent short, like in Jupiter's case, and now it's a $6 short. You have a lot of liability there, or a $10 short. So the trading of the coupons might actually benefit the position, because the whole point of Upstream, for the purposes that we want it. Now, Mark from Upstream will never say that Upstream is a short busting or anything like that. He just won't say it, just for obvious reasons. But the reason that we're trying to use it, it in theory, it should work quite well.
Cool. I'm certainly, really really excited about it. Do you guys have any kind of like spin-off thoughts at all? I mean, I understand I'm asking that right before, or right as you just extended the LOI to Zip Doctor, but any other assets that you guys might be looking to spin off in the future?
I mean, there's always potential for it. We have 2 acquisitions on the table. We have different divisions. We're going to have the pharmaceutical division once the count is closed. There's going to be a lot of options. So I wouldn't put anything past them. Obviously, when the time is right, I will put my 2 cents in. And one thing about me with them is I'm relentless. Okay, when I think that something benefits the shareholders, I don't stop harping on it. Because, like I said, I believe retail needs to have somebody that looks out for them. Now, yesterday, for example, we saw that the Zip Doctor was going to be delayed. I started talking to them at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I said, you guys, you have to put out an update. We need to tell them what's going on with this. They said, it's only a few more days, not a big deal. And I battled with them from 6 in the morning until the afternoon, and finally we got just an update out to let you guys know, because there's nothing worse than question marks when it comes to a stock. So they're starting to understand the necessity to be completely transparent with shareholders. Not that they haven't been, but, they're great at running their business. This is their first public company. So there are certain things that, we have to work through to get them to understand how everything should work.
I mean, I'll tell you, you're doing a hell of a job. I really appreciate the the feedback all the time, and I mean, PR is everything. You know what I mean? As far as this is an old release, but you guys talked about a co-venture with SMFL, Smart for Life, and
Smart for Life, yep.
And I wanted to know if there was any kind of update regarding Smart for Life.
Smart for Life, we originally signed that deal to establish a U.S.-based distribution. Now, once we signed that deal, I believe it was, what was that, September that we signed that? Or August?
It was a little while ago. I don't even remember, to be honest with you.
Right after that, we ran into the listing problems, and, we took the funding back in October, I believe it was, from AGP. There was a big problem with the warrants. The warrants originally were floating warrants, and they really had no floor. So we exchanged them for plain vanilla warrants. We had to chew through the warrants. Then we were under 10 cents for 10 days, and I have to take the blame for this. I wasn't familiar enough with that NASDAQ rule, 5810 CA3.
Yeah.
That clearly states if you're under 10 cents for 10 days, it's an automatic, what they call it is a staff determination delisting. So you're technically delisted pending a hearing. At the hearing, because of that rule, there's no extensions. They don't give you another 6 months. They say when you leave this room, you have to be compliant. That's why the split was the next day. It's normally a 10-day requirement, but NASDAQ said, nope, you want to stay listed, you're going to fix all your problems right now. So we did that, and then that insane trading day with the split happened, and Greg had the opportunity to get a pretty good chunk of money in painlessly. He did so. So now he's trying to use that money in the best way possible to avoid any of those pitfalls we've run into in the past.
Awesome.
But getting back to Smart for Life, that was a distraction. As you go, we lost 3 months basically, worrying about split shorts, etc. So now they're going to refocus on that, and it shouldn't be a difficult deal to consummate. And I know that it's still definitely on the table.
Okay, all right. So it's off ice now.
Oh yeah. Because if you notice, we just expanded our deal with VRAX.
I saw that.
VRAX, that monkeypox vaccine. Evidently, there's still a big problem with it in Europe. So the fact that we had that for distribution, VRAX is a great partner for us. They come up with great products and they give us, semi-exclusive distribution on it. And even though these aren't the most exciting deals, they're not flashy, they're very lucrative. Because when you don't have to develop something and you get 50% of the proceeds selling it, you really can't lose on that.
No, that's money, man. It's all about the numbers, right?
That it used to be.
True. You're very valid.
Fundamentals. I don't know when fundamentals became a non-event, but somewhere along the line, fundamentals went right out the window. And fundamentally, there are a lot of companies out there battling the shorts. There's not a single one that's as fundamentally strong as we are. We have almost 20 million cash in the bank, low float. Insiders own a very, very large portion of it. Our CEO is invested to the tune of, I think it's $130 a share. It's his average cost.
Yeah, he just kept buying it and buying it and buying it. And you know what? Honestly, that's one of the reasons why I'm so bullish on it. Is just because if the CEO's buying it all the way down like he is, that's bullish. I mean that's how I feel about HLBZ too. It's just when you see that CEO just constantly buying and buying and buying, that tells me that they believe in it. You know what I mean?
We'll agree to disagree on that one.
Okay, fair enough. I just like to see the insider buys. That's all.
I hear that. The biggest question I think you all should be asking on HLBC, and I don't bash tickers, it's not my style.
Yeah.
The reverse split seems like it's in the cards, and the CEO stock doesn't reverse at the same rate as the shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
That's my big concern on that one.
Okay.
If I were advising him, I would tell him to revise that provision and get in the front line with your shareholders. That would have a huge impact on the stock.
Yeah, I just really like to see these companies fighting back as well. So not only like the insiders, but to see the outpouring from whether it be the CEO, whether it be someone like yourself, an advocate. It's just somebody that has a connection with the company that can speak directly to the shareholders and reassure what's going on. So I certainly appreciate that. You don't obviously have a timeline on that SMFL thing though, right? Just kind of open-ended. We'll see what happens.
I would be speaking an untruth if I gave you something that was accurate because I just don't have it.
No, hey, I appreciate whatever you could give me. I mean, at this point, because this was kind of like, last minute, you answered everything that I was going to ask before I even asked. So, it's really good to see you fighting back, and I really hope that you don't go anywhere on us.
I'm not going anywhere.
All right.
Listen, I've been doing this a long time, and I've witnessed. Well, first of all, I trade my own account, not in any of the companies I represent. That's an important thing. I never trade in anything that I represent. Just the conflict of interest is a bad look.
Of course.
But I own positions in other deals, and I watched these guys just hit the sell button over and over again. I've lost money. I've watched people get wiped out, life savings because of nefarious activities, and you just get tired of it. And I'm tired of looking at it. I'm tired of seeing it, that these market makers abuse their market maker exemptions. They go and they rent out the market maker moniker from one of the banks, and they act as a bona fide market maker, and bona fide is a very loose term because the whole point of a market maker is to provide liquidity and orderly trading in a stock. It's not to trade for their own purposes. When these guys rent out the market maker and they use it for their own purpose, they're short. This is what has to change because they're stealing from us.
Yeah.
If somebody came up to you and pulled your wallet out of your back pocket, you're going to kick the shit out of them.
Yeah.
These guys have their hand in your back pocket and they live there, and we allow it. This has got to stop. It's got to stop.
Yeah, absolutely got to stick our foot in the dirt and do something. I mean, what's called? What other what other three other companies that you represent?
Well, I have Clean Vision, CLNV, and that's another one that's very heavily shorted. I believe I've become a target because I'm so outspoken on this issue. They probably target my stocks, but that's like I said, the shorts when you break them, they help these things go a lot higher.
Yeah.
So I got Clean Vision, I have COET, which is Coeptis, another therapeutics company. And I will be representing Jacob's new company from AMIH, Mango. He just actually signed me up yesterday, so we'll be doing Mango when it comes out, whether it's next week or the week after.
That's awesome. And that's an IPO, or is it a SPAC?
It'll be an IPO.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to come out at $4, and it should perform very well because it's small. It's only about 1.5 million shares. So So the actual stock should perform very well once it comes out.
And both of those are going on Upstream as well?
At some point, that's a requirement for me. If you're going to hire me, you have to use share intel. You have to dual list on one of there are a few different options, but Upstream is my preferred just because I go back so long with Mark and I trust him. So
that's awesome.
I look at it this way. This is the responsibility of a company, and if they're not fulfilling their responsibility, why would you own shares in the deal? Companies are like new computers. If you take one home from Best Buy and you just plug it in, you plug in your router, you're wide open to hackers. But if you change all your passwords, you add a mesh router, VPN, antivirus, now you've added layers of security that make that computer unattractive for hacking. What you want to do with your company is make it as difficult and unattractive to short as you possibly can. And that's the new cost of doing business. You want to have a public company, you absolutely have got to do everything you can to protect your shareholders. And not just say it, you have to implement it.
Yeah, it's all about accountability.
Be aware of people that are jumping on the bandwagon, and we're going to do this, we plan to do that. It's all hogwash until they actually do it.
Yeah, they got to put their money where their mouth is.
Hey, listen, Greg put $3 million aside for a share buyback. He put almost $600,000 into West Christian and another $60K into share intel and another $30,000 into Upstream. So this guy's got, roughly $4 million cash invested in shareholder protection.
That's awesome.
That's a company that deserves your investment. Yes, the stock is a little boring at times, but when it has its day, it's going to run hard.
Wow. I mean, honestly, I'm so pleased with your answers. Have you guys had like any communication with Robinhood after the whole that article was dropped at all?
No, there's no way I can.
I wouldn't think so. Like any market makers at all, or is it just kind of like a hush topic at the moment?
For me, it is. As a third-party contractor, I can't discuss things that are, at that high level.
Absolutely.
If at some point the company chooses to disclose that, so be it. I do know that ShareIntel did identify certain imbalances, a couple of which were actually rectified because they approached certain banks and said, hey, you're upside down here. I don't know if you remember that day that the stock rate the last 2 minutes traded almost 270,000 shares, and it ran up. That was an imbalance being rectified due to the information that ShareIntel provided. So little by little, these things work. If you notice, once we implemented all these pieces, the volatility has come out of the stock and the volume's gone down because now they're unable to wash shares back and forth all day.
Yeah. I mean, well,
that's how they move stocks up and down. They just transfer the shares back and forth and create the appearance of either upward or downward pressure.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to that reverse split date, I mean, you could just see the algo in action. I mean, it was as clear as day. So I mean, it's just an automatic, an automatic kick in the, where the sun doesn't shine for retail. You know what I mean?
Well, listen, I believe that Robinhood made a mistake. I'm not saying that it was malicious at the get-go, but
it was certainly an error, though. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the first, I don't know how many millions of shares were traded under the wrong symbol. People that bought the stock at 5, 6 a.m., they got a symbol. I think it was NI or NH. It was a totally different symbol, totally different CUSIP number. When they caught that mistake, now they were short X number of shares. And one thing about hedge funds, they're not just out to kill us, they're out to kill each other too. Once the word got out that there was blood in the water, they all jumped on it and ran it up in their face. So don't forget, Robinhood lost $57 million. That didn't just disappear into thin air. That went into somebody else's pocket.
Yeah.
But once again, you made a mistake. I'm real sorry to hear that. Screw you, pay me. That's our approach with it.
Yeah, there was actually another ticker. I'll have to get that for you. But there was another ticker that day that did like a very similar action. I think Robinhood actually might have screwed up on another stock, but I think it was it wasn't as bad as what happened with Cosm.
Yeah, and the fact they tried to bury it on a line item so deep in their filings that just shows you that these people don't care about you. Don't ever make the mistake of thinking that your broker-dealer is on your side, because they're not. They're in business to make money for themselves.
Yes, sir. It's all about the money, right?
Yep. Unfortunately, yes. Fair and equitable markets are still a fantasy for a while, but listen, every day we get some sort of good news from some avenue that just leads us to believe that we're getting closer and closer. You know, what it's going to take is this movement is getting so big now that it's going to get to the political/congressional senatorial basis. And when it gets there, don't forget, those guys make a lot of money trading stocks too. Yeah. So, you know, the Pelosi Act, as they call it, is a great first step. And also, once the short selling rampant behavior just gets to the public eye more, they're going to do something, because then it'll be political gain for them. Yeah. And once they can do something for political gain, that's when you get action.
Well, I really don't think you're wrong. All right. I mean, honestly, I can't think of anything else that comes to mind. I think that we hit on all my concerns. But I'll tell you what, the more people that sign up, just like, you know, to do what you do, you know, and just talk to shareholders and kind of let everybody know what's going on, I think the better off we're going to be, you know, as retail as a whole. And I just want to say thank you for everybody.
No, it's my pleasure. And, you know, I'm a retail guy. I was a retail broker. I'm a retail investor. I'm not one of these high-fluting, you know, heavy, high-power Wall Street guys. I'm on the retail side. And for my dying breath, I will stay out here and keep battling until things are made right.
That's awesome, man. I love how you're all about the data sharing, because, you know, if we're competing against algos, that's all that, you know, we could really do is just share data and see what happens, right?
Exactly. I mean, how many more advantages do they get? They have massive capital pools. They have algorithms that trade millions of shares in fractions of a second. They have level 3s, which show the entire inside market, every stop loss, where every share is located, what price they were bought at. They know exactly how to mentally, you know, mind screw us that scares us into selling, or influences us to buy. So the more discipline the traders have, the better off and the better equipped we are to battle these mind games, because that's really what it is. You know, you see your stock dripping red day after day after day, even if it's a few pennies. You get frustrated. You start second-guessing yourself. Self-doubt creeps in and you sell. And this is exactly what they're trying to do. So the best thing I can say is discipline, do your due diligence, know what you own, do your own research. Don't rely on people like me or any of the quote-unquote gurus out there, because do your own due diligence. Know, educate, learn. That's what's important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I look forward to hopefully hearing from you down the road here, and I'd love it if you'd be willing to come on in the future for any kind of updates that we have as well.
Anytime, bud. Anytime. I'm very accessible. You got my number. You can call me anytime. I'm happy to do it.
Hey, man, I appreciate you. But, all right. Well, hey, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clip this. I appreciate your time, and I'll be talking to you, I'm sure.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you, brother.
All right. Later, Frank.
Take care, John.